Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Welcome back. Another exciting episode of Next to Madison. This is episode 154. Today we are talking about space. I love space because for the majority of us, it's just such an unknown thing. We see the pictures, we can picture ourselves there. Well, some of us, I have. And I think just being able to go to space would give you such a different perspective on life. It would give you that we are very small compared to the vast universe, and life is short. And I think space would put things into perspective of don't take yourself so seriously. Nothing's that serious. You're supposed to be here to learn, grow, and enjoy. So don't get so caught up in your work that all of a sudden you get to Medicare age and you're going, gosh, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done this or done that or blah, blah, blah. And that's why I do love space. I feel like it kind of puts things into perspective of what life is really about and how small and fast our time goes on this earth. So if you're somebody sitting there going, all I do is work, all I do is work, all I do is work, maybe take a beat and just say, imagine yourself almost in space looking down on this small ball that we're all on, just this rotating ball in this mass universe. And maybe it'll help you realize like, hey, I got a short time. I'm going to, enjoy my life a little more. I'm going to quit that dumb job that's sucking the life out of me. And I'm going to go pursue something that makes me happy. And this podcast is obviously about living your best life, giving you the tools you need to be able to be inspired. And I want everyone who listens to this podcast, I want you to feel inspired at the end. I want you to feel educated, like you've learned something. So we'll be talking about space. This guy's also a musician, so jack of all trades. He's got an amazing song, very positive, upbeat message about this is your time, go after that opportunity and really make it happen. You are given everything you need to be successful in this life. Don't let society or people around you tell you otherwise. You can do anything that you want to do. You just have to do it. It is up to you. So if you're thinking about starting that business, use this as a sign to do it. If you're thinking about asking that person out, use this as a sign to do it. Go live your life. And that's why I love space. I feel like space makes you realize oh shit. Yeah, time's fast. We're kind of insignificant and let's just rock it out and kick ass. So anyways, we're going to be back with our guest on this episode. We've got a lot of stuff to cover, from music to space, mainly space. And yes, we will be back, as I said before, after this brief message from our sponsor.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right, we are back with our guest. I'm super excited to talk about this. We're going to get right into it. So welcome, Jesse Forte. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm feeling great this morning. My brother's in town from Atlanta. He's 16. He's one of the top sophomore basketball players in the state of Georgia and in the country.
Wow.
Has three Division I offers from Mississippi State, Mississippi University, and University of Florida. And he's just an awesome kid. So grateful to have him here, hosting him, made him breakfast, and so knocking stuff out.
Well, good. He sounds like your parents' retirement plan.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's a good kid.
Get him to the NBA. That's what you need, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's, God willing, everything's been worked out for him. So he's on track for great success.
That is awesome. Now let's talk about you, your background. You're a musician.
Right.
I heard one of your songs. What was it called? It was like Lift Me Up, or Now Is the Time.
Make It Happen.
Yes. Okay. That was an amazing song. I loved that. And such a positive message behind it, because you hear rap type songs and it's a lot of filth and hate and junk and just kind of very negative subliminal messages, where yours, it was it was inspiring and uplifting. I wish more rap was like that.
Yeah, it's funny. Rap is just a sense of who you are, right? And so a lot of times artists, they portray who they are, right? So you get, you know, previous drug dealers who talk about their life, and it's like, I had to cut this one person and shoot this person, and now I went to jail and my friends bailed me out, and like the DA is like writing notes like, okay, so like we have a full case on this guy. But like, I mean, me, God bless, like, I was raised in a single parent home, the oldest of three boys. And, we didn't have to go through those issues. So my life is a little bit different. Don't get me wrong. I had struggles and I talk about them, but they're kind of funny, like the struggles that I've had in my life compared to what I've seen. But then also, being somebody who wants to inspire and just, be a leader, I figured I should make music that, is captivating and then is about myself. I don't need to lie and say something that's not me. And I feel like a lot of people gravitate toward like truth, even if it doesn't sound gangster or even if it doesn't sound hood, like people can still vibe with it.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was very good. And you guys go check that out. The music videos on YouTube. Is it available on like Apple and Spotify?
Yeah, so let me give you a fun fact.
Okay.
So I'm an independent artist. That song "Make It Happen" hit over 1 million streams, and it was actually a #1 on Apple Music and iTunes for 14 days, the same time Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande dropped 34, 35, and Holy. So as a guy who has no label, no Universal, no Warner backing me up, just marketing, plugging it into different places, to have my name up there for 14 days is crazy. And then I put a catalog together in 2020 with one song a week for 50 weeks straight. I put out a song a week. I put out 3 albums in 2020, put over 50 songs out, and I went from 0 to over 10 million streams by myself. And then 2021, I did the same thing for 42 weeks, put another 2 albums together. So now I'm sitting at like 5 albums, over 100 songs, and over like 30 new songs getting registered in my catalog. And I'm passionate about music. I love it. It's a way for me to just express myself. And yeah, like I'm always going and always coming up with different flows and different ideas. I'm like, ooh, that's a good one right there. Like, when the Will Smith thing happened,
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, we could make a rap about that. Like, no.
Well, that is amazing. So how are you able to so quickly come up with these songs and produce them?
I could literally, I mean, that's just a gift, Madison. Like I could make a rap right now about, this podcast or like, drinking coffee, and I could make it a song tomorrow and people would listen to it. And that's just like one of the gifts. That's one of the gifts that I have is I can just take the same way we write paragraphs about topics is how I can, put music together. And
that's like a God-given talent. I mean,
you know what's crazy though is like sometimes like we don't even know what our gifts are. Like we wonder to ourselves like, God, like what is my gift? And like you're literally doing it, right? Like being able to connect with people and understand their story and communicate. And then we ask God like, what is it that I'm good at? It's like, hello. It's right in front of you. You've been doing it for so long and it's going to open up so many more doors for you. We're so blind to who we are. It's funny.
It's true. And I always try to emphasize to people like, none of us were born more special than the other. Everybody is given a gift, everybody's given a purpose, but it's up to you to kind of tap into that and really find it and enjoy it. That's our job on this planet, but we're all given gifts. So don't think because you're watching somebody, get a Grammy or get an Oscar that they're better than you. They just have different gifts and you are just as talented in your gifted area,
Yeah, and sometimes you're actually more talented than the people getting the Emmys and the awards because they have
that can be true.
2 and 3 dozen working behind the scenes to make them look like something that they're not. And I'm not bashing anyone who's won the Emmy or Grammy. I think that is phenomenal. Sometimes it's just you need a little bit extra support to get to that next level. And a lot of times it's hard for certain people, including myself, to accept that type of support because it's like it's new, right? It's like if it's like you give somebody, poverty $100,000 and you give somebody who's been rich $100,000, 2 different people are going to do 2 different things because of what they've experienced, right? Yes. It's the same thing with support. Like if you've had support your whole life and then you give support to somebody who has not had it, who's been, in a home or had to run away from home or this or that, they're going to be like, yo, or was raised in an area where like support was looked at weird, they're gonna be like, yo, like, why are you being nice to me? Like, nobody's ever been nice to me. Whereas you get somebody who has had support their whole life, they're gonna take that support and build whatever they're gonna do, right? So
Yeah, no, that is very well said. So how have you found navigating the music business? Like, have you tried to reach out to record labels or things like that? Because I heard it can be a very dark place, kind of like entertainment. It's just it's a weird place.
yeah, you know what? It's so interesting because I actually used to be a street performer in New York. I
Uh-huh.
performed in subways. I was that guy that was like, grabbing a dollar, or like boomboxing a mic inside of the subways on 14th Street and Union, like, on the corners of Spanish Harlem or on the Brooklyn Bridge, like rapping my butt off to make a few extra couple dollars, right?
Yeah.
And so I gained my confidence making music in 2015, 2016, just being in that New York environment. And I'll never forget, my first time ever rapping in a subway. I just moved to LA or New York. I didn't have any job. I was just like, I'm going to see if I can make it. I thought I was so naive. I was like, I'm going to make it as a rapper in New York.
Yeah.
And I literally moved to New York with $73 in my pocket after living in like 10 different countries, finishing my master's, came to New York. I'm like, I got this confidence. I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever performed was with this little Beats by Dre stereo about the size of my hand. And I just had a beat playing and I'm rapping in the subway. I'm like, hopefully people give me money. And like nobody could hear me. You know how loud the subway is?
Yes. Yeah.
And this dude turns around. I'm pretty sure he just came back from prison, had a tank top, tats all over him. And with a huge New York accent, he goes, "Hey, yo, kid, you got to go harder. You got to go harder." And I remember like I didn't make any money that day. I wanted to quit rapping. It was like the Eminem 8 Mile, like, palms are sweaty, throwing up in the bathroom. And I wanted to quit that day. But I chose 2 days later to go back to the subway, get a mic, grab a boombox, and rap hard. And then I made a couple dollars. And then I came back the next day and I made $20. And then I came back the next day, I made $35. And it just kind of kept growing. Some days better than others, but it gave me that confidence.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing about music is that you have to have an internal engine. A lot of times people go into music with the acceptance of other people. You have to do it for you until people see it. And a lot of times people get it backwards. They want other people to see it before they believe in themselves. And that's one of the biggest issues with musicians is that if you don't believe in yourself way before other people believe in you, you're going to have a hard time with imposter syndrome, right? Because it's going to come and go regardless. So that's the biggest thing.
No, that's very well said, and I think that really applies to everything you do in life, whether you're trying to be an actress or a comic or a media personality or an accountant or a business owner. Like, until you believe in yourself, nothing will really feel right. And then you brought up imposter syndrome, and that's something that we've seen kind of thrown around a lot these days, like talked about more than in the past. And some people will hear about it, but it's kind of like, explain exactly what imposter syndrome is, just so people are learning. They're like, what exactly is this?
Yeah, so I'm not going to go to Webster's. I'm just going to give you the Jesse Forte dictionary.
Yeah.
And imposter syndrome to me basically means that it's a feeling of unworthiness, like you're not good enough, when in fact you are.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's just you actually putting in the work for yourself, and actually doing it or practicing what it's supposed to feel or look like, so that when you get into a position where, you have fans or you have a concert, it's like, you've been doing this for so long, you're not going to get stage fright. Like, you're not going to throw up on the backstage because it's just like, oh, I'm just practicing what I've been doing on the streets. I'm practicing what I was doing when I was homeless. You know what I'm saying? When I was washing my clothes in Starbucks, I'm practicing what I feel like my God calling is. And so when I'm doing it, I'm just stepping into a new place. I'm just doing what I've always been doing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, imposter syndrome, like, I mean, you're gonna have it. Fun fact, I'm also running for mayor of LA, and policy and
What?
politics. Yeah, I know.
Wait, I love that. I think it's great because we need more young people to step into these roles and shake things up because whatever's happening around our country ain't working.
Yeah, and you know what? I was thinking about this. I'm left-handed, right? So my whole life I've been doing things, and never really had the majority of the people in the world are right-handed, right?
Yes.
And so as a left-handed person, you see things from a totally different perspective, um, and a lot of other things. But what I'm trying to say is this. I was thinking about this when I was washing the dishes earlier. Um, in order to create the new, you have to think from a new perspective. With policy, people that have already been in policy, they know how things work and how they are going, right? But you
Mhm.
bring somebody from an entirely different zone, a whole different dynamic perception of life, and has it been exposed, internationally and globally, they're going to bring something special that has not been seen. But if we are so stuck on continuing the way that systems are being ran, we're going to have what we've always had, right? And so I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. Like you said, in order to shake things up, you got to have people in there who are shooken. And I am shook and stirred, you
Yeah.
know?
Well,
So just excited about that.
that's exciting. So it's because we're gonna get into the other stuff that you do too. Like, how do you have time to sleep? I mean,
Oh,
it's
I sleep
kudos to
good.
you.
I sleep. So I slept on the couch last night because my brother, he's like 6'5" and he's 16. He's my little big brother.
Yeah.
When I went home, he looked down at me. He's like, "Can you make me a grilled cheese sandwich?" I'm like, "You need to make me grilled cheese sandwiches now because you like how tall you are."
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Yeah, I sleep great. I'm very productive and I take care of myself very well. And when I don't feel like I'm taking care of myself, I cancel shit and I make sure that I get that time that I need. Whether I need to get a pedicure or I need to go on a walk or I need to go on a run or I need to work out or I need to feed myself or get back on my meal prep, I take care of Jesse Forte. And that's why I'm available to do things and go above and beyond.
I love that. And you guys, I talked a little bit about it in kind of the intro, making the space kind of, if you could go to space and see the earth and realize just how small we really are, things would be put into, it would be more clear. The perspective would be more clear. And, I think like we've kind of been ingrained to always be working. When people ask you how you're doing, you're always working. People are identifying with work. And then you have this burnout. So I love that you're saying like you're doing all these things. It's amazing. But when you need to take care of you, that you're not ashamed to step back and say, you know what? I ain't working today. I got to take care of me. And I think more people need to do that.
Oh yeah. I mean, we have life so backwards. It's like,
Oh,
um, from a corporate perspective, it's like, okay, work 50 years, the best 50 years of your life, and
oh,
get the last 10. It's like, get the last 10 years of your life. It's like, wait, like what? Like, how about like we reverse that and we work efficiently, 2 to 3 days out of the week for 10 years to set ourselves up for the rest of the 50 years. Like that's how I look at life. That's how I feel like it should be. And I feel like a lot of us have been robbed of that because of how our society has taught us to live.
well,
Um,
they do. And they don't educate financial literacy is not mandated in the schools. It should be mandated from kindergarten through. Um, because back in the day, when I've done some reading, Rockefeller hijacked the education system. They wanted to make employees
workers. They
slave.
wanted to make
Yeah,
workers.
exactly.
And that's why
And they set up
this.
this horrible system, and we all just fell for it. I feel really until 2020 when everyone kind of woke the fuck up and said,
Yeah,
hold on a second, this ain't
yeah,
working. So I love
absolutely.
that you're saying that.
No, it's so important. That's why, previously, like from 2017 to 2021, I had a podcast, over 350 episodes. I had artists on there. I had people running for president. I had ministers, council members, um,
Jeez.
NBA Hall of Fame players, you name it, right?
Yeah.
And I learned more from the people that I was able to connect with than I did in college. That's why this podcast is so important, because there's going to be just maybe one, maybe 100, maybe 1,000 people that listen to this, and this is going to totally rewire the way they think. And that
Yeah.
is how change the dynamics. Like, it's not about policy. The reason why I'm doing policy is because I'm not a policy member. I'm not somebody who makes policy, but I'm inspired and I want to inspire other people. I think we need somebody in a position like that who's going to make changes that way. We don't need to do it the old way. We need to have somebody new come in with new perspectives. You know what I'm saying? So education is huge with me, you know, empowering the youth, giving back, you know, just doing those things that we know we're supposed to be doing.
No, I love that. And so when is the race? When is your election?
June 8th.
Of this year?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. So obviously I'm not in LA, so I haven't like seen anything, but have you been able to raise lots of money for the campaign and really get the message out there? And do you know how you're doing?
So I'm 28 years old. I decided to
Amazing.
run. I decided to run for mayor of LA 2.5 months ago. And the first thing that I had to do was gather my ballots. I needed 500 signatures to get on to the ballot. So I'm like, perfect. 2.5 weeks to get 500 signatures in LA City. I got this.
Yeah.
So I went to Targets and I went to Venice Beach and I went to Manhattan Beach and I went to my stores and I went to people, and everyone loved the concept. They're like, we need young people like you. We need people of color. We need people of representation. We need an astronaut in there who's going to take us to the moon and back, because none of these motherfuckers care about us.
Yeah.
And you do, and I do, right?
Yeah.
So I got, out of those 500, I got 720 signatures. I went back to LA City Clerk. I gave them the papers, and they gave me an unofficial count of 670. Now, when they gave me the paper back, it said 198 signatures, which is like 303 less than I needed. So they're like, all right, no worries. Like, you still need 303 signatures. We just need you to get it in the next 2 hours. Can you do it? Well, I'm an hour and a half away with traffic. So basically I only have 30 minutes to get it to you guys. So I said, what's the next option? Because that's not going to work. They said, well, you can be a list-in ballot. I said, what does that mean? They said, you are on the ballot. You can raise money. You can debate. You can have your campaign. You can promote, but you're just not on the ballot. So people have to write your name in. I said, perfect. Sign me up. So now I'm a list-in candidate for LA mayor. I think I'm the youngest candidate and the first astronaut to ever run for mayor. And
that's amazing. So how are you going to clean up that? And I love California. I love LA, but pardon my French, when it's pretty obvious it's become quite a shithole. Crime's through the roof, the gas prices are through the roof. It's just, it's a terrible place to be. I work in this business and I will not go there unless I have to. So what are you going to do to make people want to go there and make it the God-given place it was supposed to be?
Well, the first thing that my main focus is the homeless seeking shelter, hungry seeking food, and underprivileged seeking education. Prior to me running for mayor, I actually lived in 10, 11 third world countries in West Africa, Southeast Asia, South America, working with children sold into slavery, women sold into marriage, education programs, poverty-stricken areas, and redeveloping communities. And so in the last 8 years, I've learned how to redevelop cities, create happy urban cities, and really focus in on the people. So I always thought to myself, if I could do this in third world countries with no resources, if I had resources, I could do tremendous things in big cities. And so one of my biggest obstacles or, responsibilities is working from the ground up, because for the entirety of LA, like at least the last 56 years, we focused on the 1% and we've left everyone else out at the bottom. Well, let's take some initiative, all of us, to work in on that bottoms, on Skid Row, redeveloping, reunionizing the city. I have a huge strategy plan to turn Skid Row, which is one of the largest homeless populations in the city, into a green zone, which means a farm, which means there's crops being grown, which means those people who actually are homeless have jobs, and they're creating sustainability because they have to take care of these crops. Their homes are gathered around the crops. This builds a healing perspective, because not only are we giving people a place, not only are we giving them community, not only are we giving them resources, but we're focusing on the psychology of their hearts and their minds, which heals a lot of the psychological aspects that they're dealing with. Whether it's being homeless for years, whether it's drug addiction, whether it's, domestic violence. It's bringing the community together to refocus what that looks like. And going green and building to the outside will create a whole new dynamic for LA City of almost the new concrete jungle. So that's one of the big perspectives, is totally changing it. I don't even like talking about this because I understand that politicians would love to steal this shit, but I'm so open to it because if I can't do it, I hope somebody else does. The only issue is nobody can do it the way that I'm doing it, because I feel like this is something that God's put on my heart. And I just know exactly how it's supposed to be done because of the work that I've already put in.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And what are you going to do about the taxes?
Ooh, the taxes. That
Because
tax.
most people could be closer to the 1% or in the 1% if they didn't have to pay so much in taxes.
Yeah. So like taxes back in like the 1930s, 40s was pretty nice. Like people that were in that 1%, they were paying close to like 50%. And then the less you made, the less tax you made. Now it's like the 1% are paying 34, and like the 20%, the 30% are paying 32. And it's like, wait, what? So you're telling me this person that makes $10 million has to pay, 3 million. So they still have $7 million left. But like, if I make, $100,000, like I still need to pay, $35,000, $40,000. I'm like, do you understand how much it takes to actually live in LA?
Well,
So
yeah, because you can't do anything about the federal, but you could do something about California, like the city taxes. I mean, I was in New York. You were in New York. You know how expensive that was.
yeah,
For me, there's a part of me that always loves New York. It's either you're LA or New York. I think I'm more New York, right?
hmm
I won't live there full time again because I don't want to fall. And I say this honestly, I don't want to be a victim of New York's taxation. So I would rather live in a no tax state or a very low tax state and then just go there for work and keep more money in my pocket so I can then do what I feels best with that money, like donate to the causes I believe in, because I know our government does not know how to spend our money.
or invest it back into your own company, or invest
Exactly.
it
And
into
hire more.
or hire somebody to do
Yeah.
the work that you don't want to do. Like, why are we giving money to the city or to the country when it's not being utilized, properly? Like all this money that we're doing for the gas right now, literally like in the last like 3 months, or even the Super Bowl, like how much money they made at the Super Bowl. Like if they took a quarter of what they made at the Super Bowl, we could literally feed people throughout the country for the next 4 years. If they took half or even the whole thing, we could end world hunger
Yeah.
with the billions of dollars. But it's just like people aren't thinking that way because they don't give a fuck. And
Yeah.
I
And
do
that's
give
why
a
I
fuck.
always say, and I love that you're like a politician, because I can't stand politicians, but I like you, is they say whatever it takes to get elected and then they don't follow through, which I always thought was so ass backwards. Because if I went into a job interview, let's say you were going to hire me to help you with your music career, and I said to you, I am and I can do and then I came in and did exactly the opposite, you'd fire my ass.
Fired. Yeah.
That's why I'm like, why do we put these people on a pedestal? Like, they work for us. Somehow it's flipped to where like they think we work for them. And I'm like, we just need that fresh, like, because I don't think it's healthy that 99% of America doesn't trust anyone in government. You say you're from the government, I'd run. I'd rather you be
Yeah.
from a gang. I feel more safe if you're in a gang than if you're in the fucking government, to be honest with you. That's what it's come down to. So I love that you're going to shake things up, because I get pissed off when it comes to politics, if you can't tell.
And you know what? Gangs probably have more honor than most politicians. I'll tell you that.
No shit. At least they're going to tell you the truth.
They have a code of conduct.
Yes.
I don't know anything about it, but not saying I've ever.
Right, exactly. Trust me, I know. I have a friend that, or not a friend, but a friend of a friend that runs the gang unit here in Colorado, and it was interesting to kind of hear the stories. And, but yeah, they do have a kind of a code of conduct. So I'm very excited that you'll be able to bring some integrity to politics, because I feel like to be a politician, accountability, yeah.
Because like you just said,
in order
Yeah,
to be a politician, you kind of have to be a little godless
you
because
feel that way. I feel like a lot of people
yeah,
come in and they probably have really good intentions and hearts, and then they get sold, or they're
that's
like, hey, listen,
yes.
we love that idea and we really want to work on it. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to give you $250,000. You don't have to tell anybody about it. Just take care of your family and we'll take care of the situation. Or stuff like that happens, and then 6 months down the line, it's like somebody else is taking on over your entire project and they're doing something totally different, but you've already had your hush money. So now you can't do anything. And you know what? A lot of that is business too. That happens in business world with artists. That happens with, the creative aspects being taken over. It's like, hey, listen, we know you make this music, but we're going to give you $1 million. By the way, you got to pay that back in about 2.6 years with interest. So you're really paying us 1.7 million. Anyways, we're going to take over your whole catalog. We want you to make new music. Oh yeah, but you can't make the music you were making because now you're in this new genre. So we need you to make this music. Can you do it for us? If not, we get it. We're just gonna have to cancel your contract. And so it's just like, it just depends on who you're doing work with, who you're doing business with.
Yeah.
The music industry can be shady, politics can be shady, but that's why I think it's so important to be your own person first, to learn the business, to understand what your perspective is, what you're trying to do, and then go after it. And if people want to take it on with you, great. If they don't, great. But either way, you're going to be good.
So how are you going to prevent yourself from falling into this scum-sucking slumlord of DC?
Well, the great
How are
thing
you going to stay good? How are you going to stay with Jesus versus the like cesspool it's become over there? These people make me so angry.
So the first thing is that, thank God that, I have my own income coming in. I have
Yeah.
my own business. I have my own work. So I don't have to worry about somebody hand feeding me. I don't have to
Ugh.
worry. I don't have an agenda. I don't have any politicians on my side. I don't know anybody in office. I haven't called out, any politicians and asked them to endorse me. I don't give a fuck about that. What I do give a fuck about are the people, holding myself accountable, like doing the right thing when nobody's looking, and just like being the man that I say I'm going to be. When I say I'm going to do something, I do it. When I talk to the people and let them know like what's actually happening behind closed doors. That's the difference between me and whoever is running against. Like, I went into the debates and I'm listening to these politicians and stuff, and I'm like, what? I'm like, yo, like, what? Like, I'm just listening. Like, that's not what the people want. Well, how do you know, Jesse? Because I was with them last night.
Yeah.
Like I went to a party and I talked to some of my homies, or like I was actually on the streets with the people. I'm the guy that goes into the tents and like takes people out of the tents and brings them into their new home, and like brings like different people around to support them, because I've actually been homeless before. I was on the streets. I washed my clothes at Starbucks. I slept in Battery Park. Like I slept on the streets and for a summer. And I understand what it's like for a small period of time to be at your rock bottom.
Yeah.
So for a guy like me who's been on the streets, who had to rap to survive, to get halal food and maybe some Joey's pizza from two brothers, to now, getting ready to go to space, having multiple degrees, writing multiple books, done TEDx talks, performing around the world, performing in different countries. Like, I know what it takes to really take your life to the next level. And we need somebody who's actually been at rock bottom to express that to the people, to the youth, to our city.
Well, I love that, and I'm wishing you the best. I'm not in LA, or else I would vote for you. But I will tell my people I know in LA to look out for you and to put you on the ballot and vote for you. I think you would be absolutely amazing. But we have to get to one of the major parts of the interview, which is the fact that you are also training to be an astronaut.
Yes.
Like, this is insane. You have multiple degrees. You're 28 years old. You've released over 100 rap songs. You're running for mayor, and you're going to be an astronaut. Like, what do you not do? Like, it's truly amazing.
I don't waste time. I think a lot of times we think that, oh, I can do this next year, or, oh, maybe in 5 years, like I can do this. And I'll never forget, I moved here in 2019 of May. My friend Stacy, she is a multi-million-dollar entrepreneur who I went to school with. She was the A plus student. I was the D plus, if I talk to the teacher C minus student. And I always just like was inspired and kind of jealous that she always had A's, but like also had to look at the dynamics. Her her family, she had both parents in the house. They had money, she could get, support with certain things. I didn't have that. I had to learn everything on my own. And I'm not saying one life was better than the other, but I look at the different narratives now. But she invited me to go to this conference that she was speaking at. And I had kept in touch with her for years. Well, it was Steve Harvey's conference. I get there. I get there to LA, Hollywood, Universal Studios. I'm peeing in a urinal. And Steve Harvey literally goes into the urinal next to me. Bald head, big mustache, looks over to my left. He's like, "What's up, young fella? What you doing?" And we're like peeing. I'm like, "I'm good, man. I'm here to see you." And he's like, "What you here for?" I said, "Well, I mean, what do you mean?" He's like, "What do you want to do here in LA?" I said, I want to do music." He's like, "Where do you live?" I said, "I live in Arizona." He's like, "Well, you can get your ass out of Arizona and come to LA because that's not where it's happening." And I was like, "You're right, Steve." And I kept this little fortune cookie ticket in my pocket, in my wallet, and it said, "Stop fine-tuning your instruments and start playing." So between that fortune cookie letter and Steve Harvey and the urinal telling me I need to move to LA, and this leadership organization that I went with, I decided to move to LA that week, even though I was supposed to go back 2 days later. So I took a Greyhound to LA, and I never went back. And that imposter syndrome of, am I good enough? Or maybe I should go back to my old self, go back to my old me. Or Jesse, you were homeless 2.5 years ago in New York. Do you think the same shit's gonna happen to you again? Or family saying, "Are you fucking serious, Jesse? You think you're good enough to be out there? You think you're good enough? You think you really got what it takes to be out in LA?" Or even my own internal, struggle of, am I actually who I say I am? All that in your head, all that shit, right? And to say, you know what? I am. And it's already done. Time hasn't caught up yet. Even right now, people are like, "Well, Jesse, are you really an astronaut because you haven't gone to space?" No, I'm an astronaut because I've already completed the certification for space travel. I've already gone to Poland and worked with the Lunaris Research and Development Team for my first analog mission, and I've been accepted into my second one. I'm already on track to go to space. I'm just waiting for everything to catch up. People don't know what God has planned for me, but we've already had these conversations.
Yeah.
So it's always about knowing yourself and just saying it, expecting it, knowing in your heart that what you truly believe will happen. That's what's most important.
I love that. And because it's like what you're saying is it's also drowning out the noise of not only your own negative self-talk, but the negative self-talk around you, which
Absolutely.
can be hard to do. I know that I have struggled with it, not so much my own, but like if I'm talking to somebody and it comes off like a little doubtful or negative, then I don't try to take it personally, but I shut down like internally, like I'll stop sharing things with people. So I kind of have a wall a little bit because I was like, well,
Yeah. And it's important that you create boundaries because a lot of times, it'll be the people closest to you. It could be your mom. It could be your brother. It could be your sister, your cousin.
Yeah.
It could be an in-law or even like your husband or wife, and it's so sad because those are the people that we genuinely expect for us to be happy. But sometimes those people can have resentment, especially when you have these up and wild dreams about who you want to be and they can't see it. But it's okay. God didn't give them the vision. He gave you the vision.
Well, I love that.
That's the biggest thing. So you can't get mad at people because they don't see what you see. You just have to create boundaries and focus in on what you're trying to do. Because if you try to let what that person's saying, it's going to interfere with that gift or goal that you have in mind. Like when I told people, like,
for everybody that's listening, I want you to go on your phone or if you're on YouTube, and I want you to hit the back 30 seconds twice and re-listen to what he just said again, because I think that was very impactful, that God didn't give them the vision or the dream. He gave you the vision or the dream to stay with. I love that. So go back and listen to that one more time.
Yeah. So you just gotta drown it out, that imposter syndrome that pops up. You gotta, refocus in on audiobooks. You gotta listen to new podcasts. You gotta reinforce, look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, listen, like I am that dude. I am that woman. I can do this. I will, I must, I have to, and you just gotta go after it with everything you have. Can't look backwards.
So what would be your advice to people who tend to procrastinate? Because you mentioned time, like I don't waste time. Like if people are saying like, oh, I'll put it on my to-do list for next week, or I'll handle it next month. Like what's your advice for them?
Is the practice re-engineering, the psychology. So I'll break that down for you. So when you are waiting and procrastinating, it's like you're saying it in your head, right? Oh, I'm gonna do this, but I got these things to take care of. Well, get a whiteboard. Like I have this whiteboard right here, and it's been $1 million investment for me because ever since I got that giant whiteboard, I've written down visions, goals, aspects. I have my vision board on the backside. It looks like a CIA case because it has like, all of like, my visions, my products, my missions, how I want to feel, what my relationships will look like, the cars that I'll be driving, the houses, the architecture, you name it. It has everything up there. And I made that in 2020 with a spaceship, not knowing that I'd be an astronaut a year and a half ago. So let me tell you, when you build it up on the board, it happens and you got to make it happen, right?
So do you look
build
at it every day?
Okay, so for the first 2 years, I looked at it every day because I put it up on my wall before I would sleep. Now I'm pulling it back. So I write on my whiteboard and I look at it for about 10, 15 minutes. And I'm like, am I working on this? How can I subconsciously gain this? What can I work on today to build this, right? So going back to your question, what are some good aspects to help out with procrastination? If you have 100 thoughts and you work on one of them, that's great. Next day, try to work on two of them. Nothing's going to happen overnight, but if you continuously build and you work on it every day, like you're going to get so much better than where you used to be.
I love that. It's very well said. But now let's get to the space part.
Boom.
So he put an astronaut or a ship. That is.
So this was actually gifted to me by, the Polish Lunaris Research and Development Team. And that's also our American flag with our badges, right here. And then our Sensoria Patch, which is a NASA certified patch that we got for our first analog mission in Poland.
If you guys want to see it, make sure you check out our YouTube channel next to Madison. There'll be a video of this podcast as well as the audio. So if you want to see the badges he just showed me, please tune into that. I mean, this is amazing. So you put a spaceship on your vision board. Did you ever have a desire to go to space, or it was just kind of a passing thought?
Ever since I was 5, I would have this dream that I'm in a glass tube and I'm heading up into space and all I can see are the stars. And I'm going up and up and the stars are coming closer to me. And before I get to the star, I wake up. But that's been happening my entire life. On top of that, I'm a huge fan of Buzz Lightyear. And guess who reached out to me 3 days ago?
Buzz Lightyear? No.
Toy Story.
What?
Yes.
How?
Stay tuned.
Yeah, I gotta hear. Okay.
Wait. You know what? I'm just gonna show you on this so you can see.
Again, go to our YouTube channel.
yeah, I'm gonna show this to you real quick.
How did they find you?
Well, I don't know if you can see that, but wait.
What does it say? Love it. We'll definitely reach out to you this coming week. Space Ranger. Is that what they call you?
That's what they call me. But
that is, wow, that's awesome.
So, I don't know, like everything's just coming into fruition. So, the new Buzz Lightyear movie is coming out in June.
Okay.
And I sent them a message like, oh my gosh, I am Buzz's biggest fan, And I'm like, in fact, not only am I a fan, but he's inspired me so much that I've taken on that same path. I went to Disneyland in February, and we went on the Toy Story Buzz mission, and I was almost in tears because there's a life-size Buzz, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, Buzz, we did it. And I have this video, and I don't know, it's emotional for me because, as a kid, like you don't really know what'll impact you. you know, whether it's like a story or a person or a movie. But
Yeah.
I definitely really appreciated that movie, and then the story behind it of, you know, people may look at you different. You know, you may not fit into certain groups, but if you have a vision or an idea, like you can make it happen. And so to be that for
Wow.
somebody else, or um,
Take your
to
time.
just like to just like
I
live
love
and
that. You can feel just the passion. You can feel it. It's just so.
yeah. I don't know why I'm crying right now, but
It's all right. It's
yeah, like it's
these
like
are
it's
happy tears, though. These are happy tears.
yeah. They're very happy. I'm just grateful. That's all.
Well,
Straight up.
I'm just so excited. I have to tell you, you're my first guest that's ever cried, and I'm glad I didn't make you cry. That you were crying because you're so passionate, and I love that. I'm so excited for you. That is just so amazing, and maybe you'll be working on a movie with them one day too.
I already envision it. You know, Black Buzz, Jesse Forte.
I love it. I'm telling you that's gonna happen. Like that's not even a question. That will happen, and it's going to be you.
Buzz Lightyear 2, Black Buzz. I'm his apprentice,
Yeah.
and we go up to space and we do space stuff. Like,
Yes. Just make sure you invite me to the premiere since we talked about this and you thought about
yeah.
it on the podcast. That is so cool. Okay, so what was space training like? If somebody's listening to this and they want to go to space, or you just were like, "What the hell?" Like, how is this happen?
Well, one of the craziest things that happened was my girlfriend at the time. This was like in like January. She's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm thinking about going to Miami in May. Is that okay?" And I'm like, "That's totally fine. I'll be in Poland for a whole month training to be an astronaut." And like, you know, later on in the summer, and she's just like, "All right." And this was like way before she even knew that I was training to be an astronaut, or like, you know, no signs of anything. I was just an artist at this point.
Yeah.
And July 7th, my birthday was the 16th. I got an email on the 7th that said, "Congratulations, you've been accepted into the Linares Research and Development Program as an analog astronaut. We have you set up for Q1, Q4 2022." This was July 2021. However, we have an opening. We just need you in Poland in the next 36 hours. Do you accept? So I'm like, where's Ashton Kutcher at? Like, who's punking me right now?
You're right.
Like, I'm getting a message from Russia and Poland about analog astronaut training a week before my birthday. Like, who set them up, right? Imposter syndrome. Not remembering that, yo, I applied for this position. I put in my application. Obviously, they like what they see. They want to bring me on board. But, like, why don't you believe that this is happening for you, Jesse? Why
Yeah.
don't you believe that you're good enough for this, right? And so I called family because I just couldn't believe it. And they all told me, like, that's fake news, Jesse. Like, that's not real. And so I almost believed them. I almost like deleted the message. And then I like gathered myself and I was just like, no, like, this is actually real. And I replied back and I said, hey, like, I'm accepting it. What's the next steps? And they said, JJ will be calling you tomorrow morning. JJ is head of the genome sequencing DNA team for SpaceX. She's the director of Sensoria, and she's like a direct report to Elon Musk and helps out with all the different space projects.
Wow.
She zoomed me. We talked. I got my research projects approved in music and technology and botany, and she went over operations directions and EBAs for our mission. I bought my ticket that day. I left to Poland 24 hours later. Got into Warsaw. Took a 6-hour train ride into Piła. Took a Uber all the way to the Polish military barracks, and like the Cold War II military barracks where they built a simulation international space station, where I met my, you know, 6 all-American analog astronaut team who have decades of years of experience in space and technology. I'm the new dude in the group. And we completed our mission. We went through all of the training for 14 days of isolation training. It was the absolute, it was an absolute blast. I mean, from beginning to end. There were points in time where when I first got there, I felt like, is this a joke? Am I on like some like Polish like funny game show where they like put Americans inside for isolation and see if they're gonna go crazy? You start to like think crazy shit in your head.
Yeah.
I'm literally in the middle of nowhere. I'm stuck in this simulation station with 6 people, and we can't leave. We're not allowed to leave or the mission dies. If you leave the room, if you leave the simulation, you have terminated. People have died. So 14 days you are entrapped.
So how did you how did you deal with that?
Oh my gosh. I had so much fun. The people that I was with, my team, we worked so well together. We developed new products. We worked on new projects. We made sure that meteorites, didn't hit the space station. We went on our EVA moonwalks on the moon, which we had a simulation of. We made broccoli in 14 days, and we ate it on a salad on the 14th day. Like, we built crops. We worked on water projects. Like, we did so much. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of different projects in the span of 14 days, and then we left
Wow.
back to the States. And that's an experience that I'll never forget. That's something that has, jet fueled my career as an astronaut. And it's something that I think, a lot of people who aspire to be can utilize to take on their next steps.
So
to
did you
become it.
tell JJ that your inspiration to be an astronaut was Buzz Lightyear?
No, I wasn't that vulnerable at that time. I think I was just meeting everyone and I was so
Yeah.
new.
I think it's cool.
Well, you know what? So are you familiar with Afrotech?
No.
Well, it's a huge technology magazine. It's like African American Forbes for technology. It's huge.
Oh,
And
okay.
they actually reached out to me about my music and technology and space journey, and so they wrote this beautiful article. But one of the big things that I put in there and that they took was like that quote about Buzz Lightyear and how it inspired me to go to space. That's what I sent to Toy Story.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Then they reached out. It was like, by the way, Afrotech wrote this article, and I just wanted to give a huge shout out because of you guys.
Yeah.
Also, by the way,
So
R.I.P. to Miss Potato Head. The voice actor for Miss Potato Head passed away this past week.
oh no.
Yeah, so she was a sweetheart.
Oh, that's too bad.
But yeah, I've never. Wow, I'm now like getting myself back together. I can't believe I cried on camera. Like,
No, I think it shows a real side of you, and I think that's a side that we need to see more of from people. It just your passion and just your excitement and just your love for what you do and kind of what's created you and your steps and your gratitude is all that positive emotion. So I think you're super real. And that's why you're going to make one hell of a mayor and one hell of an astronaut and one hell of a musician and whatever else you decide to do.
thank you.
It's keeping it real and that vulnerability. And I just think it's amazing. So when are you set to go to space?
So the goal is actually to go within the next 18 to 20 months. Right now, I'm taking care of all of the requirements. Finished my first, mission in Poland. Got accepted into my second mission in Iceland in August, where I'll be working with the European aerospace team and an international team of mission control and analog astronauts and lava tubes, Iceland lava tubes, which are the closest thing to Moon and Mars geographical atmosphere. So we'll be doing our spacewalks, our moonwalks, research and development for 22 days in extreme weather environments. And then from there, actually, I have this crazy meeting on Saturday and Sunday that I will have to talk to you about on our next episode.
Okay.
But it has to do everything with space. So stay tuned.
Oh, well, I'm so excited for you. Because I remember saying in like my intro, like I feel that if you have the opportunity to go to space, like I think I was mentioning to you earlier, just how life gets more put into perspective.
Absolutely.
The seriousness gets kind of taken out of once you realize you're on this just such a small revolving ball in a vast universe that things don't seem as important. That thing you're worrying about doesn't seem so big anymore.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's all about perspective, and sometimes you're right. Like it's nice to see things from that larger perspective, but
Hmm.
it's also important to have those feelings and emotions because that's what drives us. You know, like I think it's so cool that like even in this huge world, like we can have a conversation or communication where somebody else can get inspired, or like you can ask me questions that actually make me think about why I do what I do and show an emotion that I you know, don't show. Like I'm a hip hop artist. Like I'm an astronaut. It's like keep your vulnerability like focus in. Like don't show that emotion. You got me over here sniffling. Buzz Lightyear. Oh my god! Like fangirl. Like what? Like that. Like
No, I think it's absolutely amazing, and honestly, like you're a very impressive human because you are listing all this stuff that you're doing, and then you tell me your age, and I'm like, what like how does he have time for all of this? And I loved your whole perspective on time. Like you don't waste it, you just make the most of it.
yeah, and one of the biggest things that I'm learning and appreciating more is that the reason why I've done so much is because sometimes I just, and even now, like even now, like sometimes I wake up, I'm like, am I doing enough?
What?
You,
You are. Let me tell you, you are.
and it's like it's accepting and knowing that you are enough, right? So that worthiness, going back to just having that confidence and just knowing that like I'm doing everything I said I was going to do and more. So now what? Who you talking to? I'm that guy.
You're amazing. I feel like I'm doing a lot, but like after having a conversation with you, there's like other things that I want to do, and I feel that you've inspired me to go do those other things that I kind of had on a vision board. I still have to redo my vision board. I actually have like the board like sitting here.
Hey, I love it.
So
Let's go. Let's
you're
go.
motivating me to get this done, so I can kind of stare at it because there's I've always wanted to write a book, and
Go.
now I'm like, what the hell? What am I waiting for?
Right?
You've inspired me to start outlining that book. You know,
Go get it. You know what? Can I suggest a recommendation?
yeah.
Start writing.
So I started to do a little bit of an outline and then I kind of put it to the side. But yeah, I am just going to start writing. Like I don't need like it's going to be, in the motivational type area, but it'll have like a different kind of spin on it.
Yeah.
Um and just my interpretations of kind of life and how it really is comical and like all the problems and struggles that I had in my own life that were so brought on by nobody other than me
Mm. I
thinking,
love
you know what I mean? And it's like I feel that a lot of people have the same struggles, especially when they're younger. And you really we always hear that thing is like your thoughts create your reality, your words, everything like is so impactful. And it is so true. And if you are sitting here and you're happy with your life, well, your thoughts created that. If you're unhappy with your life, well, that's also your fault too. So it's up to you to make the change. But yeah, I hope that everybody was super inspired by this. Where can everybody find you? First of all, let's start with your music and then all the other good stuff.
Yeah. So you guys can find me. Just look up Jesse Forte, JESSEFORTE. Social media is THE.JFORTE. That's THE.JFORTE. And my artist name is J Forte, JFORTE. And if you're really interested on seeing the next level of how space, music, and technology integrate into each other, you guys got to check out my new NFT collection. It's called Jesquiat, like Basquiat, but Jesquiat. Jesquiut. And
So
you can find that on Rarible.
JESQIAUT.
IAUT. Yep. It's a collection of my minted art pieces, which focus in on space design, creative, art, and basically what I'm doing with these NFTs is, building revenue stream for music, space, and technology, and working on different projects. So
That's
yeah,
so they're on OpenSea?
they're on Rarible right now.
On Rarible. Okay. Which is
Yep.
another NFT platform. I know some people who are starting to get into the whole NFT space. They're like OpenSea. I'm like, there's a lot of other platforms you got to look out from.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
well, that is just, I mean, you're amazing. So you guys go follow him on social media to follow his journey, obviously be inspired, check out the songs. The music is awesome. And honestly, if you're like a parent, especially of a teenager that's kind of getting into this rap music, that can be, some of it's good, but a lot of it can be pretty damaging, especially in their development years. I would say to go check out Jay Forte, because they still get that good rap music, but the messages are positive, and that's a great thing.
And one other thing, Madison. So this is like under the wraps. I just talked to a few distributors, but I'm coming out with an indie alt rock album. And first song, I'm gonna send it to you. It's called Social Love Function.
Okay.
And it is an absolute hit. Think MGK meets Three Doors Down meets Bowling for Soup. I'm a huge rock fan. I'm a huge Hinder Nickelback. Like I used to be on the back of the bus just listening, like with my white friends, like just jamming out. Like, dude, can I listen to your AirPods, man? So I have a huge rock and just alternative background. But growing into my music, I was never fully acceptant of that part of who I was. And so for the last 5 months, I've been like jamming out to like rock beats and like working with like a band, a bass, a guitar player, a drummer, and I'm getting ready to go onto a few different concerts, with a full live band. And the music is me. It is so good. I'm gonna share the song with you. I want to hear your feedback on this. Like, I really want you to hear this.
I'm so excited. So yeah, so he's got a new song coming out. Stay tuned for that. Yeah, this is amazing. Thank you so much for taking time out of your nonstop schedule to sit down with me and share your story. It was amazing.
No problem. And thank you for having me on. You guys take care. Keep streaming the show, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Yes, absolutely. And thanks for everybody who's tuning in wherever you are. I appreciate you. We couldn't do it without you. So please don't forget to rate and subscribe and write a review. It makes all the difference in the world. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time to find out who's next. Bye.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@next2madison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.